This video is a little bit special for me. It's because Rolemaster Unified is the successor to the game I grew up playing more than any other. I'm talking about Rolemaster 2nd Edition. But I'll save my thoughts for how this new version of Rolemaster compares with the version I grew up playing for the end of the video. But for now, let's get on with it. Rolemaster is a system without a predefined setting. As such, the Game Master must first settle upon a world in which to set the game. I chose to return to the epic setting that Rolemaster 2nd Edition had transported us to all those years ago, namely Middle-earth. As for the period, I chose to set the game early in the Third Age, when Sauron, disguised as the Necromancer, had established himself in Dol Guldur, a hill fortress deep in the south of Greenwood the Great. I chose this period because it was early enough to avoid conflicts with the events of the War of the Ring, while not so far removed that it rendered the setting unfamiliar. With the game world settled, for my character concept, I chose to roll up an elf from the north of the Greenwood. As for his profession, he served the elven king Thranduil by patrolling the borders of his woodland realm at a time when the influence of Sauron was turning the Greenwood into the increasingly dark and dangerous forest that would come to be known as Mirkwood. This background addressed the first three questions the Rolemaster system expects your character concept to answer. Specifically, my concept established that my character is racially a wood elf, culturally he's a woodland dweller, what the system refers to as a sylvan, and his profession, which is the term Rolemaster uses for class, is ranger. However, the system also encourages the player to flesh out the concept by considering the character's appearance and personality. With this in mind, I decided my character had enrolled in the service of the king after his brother became one of the first to be slain by the giant spiders that now haunt the southern reaches of the forest. This tragedy made my character unusually serious and driven for an elf. The pain of his loss also gave him a grim demeanour that set this otherwise unremarkable looking wood elf apart from his more carefree and light-hearted compatriots. Having sketched out my character's concept, it was time to generate his stats. Rolemaster uses 10 stats. Each one is generated by rolling 1d100 3 times, discarding any rolls lower than 11. The player assigns the highest of the 3 rolls to the stat's potential, which refers to the highest value the stat can ever reach. He then assigns the middle roll to the stat's temporary column, which refers to its current value. The lowest of the 3 rolls for each stat is discarded. As for how stats work, the higher the value, the better. It's also important to understand that stat values are not directly used other than as a gauge of prowess. Instead, they generate bonuses that modify stat and skill-based rolls. Stat bonuses are also used to determine secondary stats like walking pace and initiative modifiers. Having assigned the rolls, the player can then pick 2 of 5 possible stat boosts. To fix my character's abysmal empathy stat values, I took the option to increase the temporary and potential of one stat to 56 and 78 respectively. For my second boost, I took the option of replacing my highest temporary stat with 90 and increasing its corresponding potential by 10 points. While this option actually reduced my highest temporary since my strength had been 91, it was still worth taking since it meant my strength, which previously could never exceed 92, now had the potential of one day maxing out at 100. Finally, the player is then allowed to make up to 2 swaps, an option I use to swap my memory and improved empathy stats with quickness and self-discipline respectively, which are far more critical for a ranger. And with that, the stat generation phase of Rolemaster character generation is complete. The next stage in the process involves developing the character's skills, and with Rolemaster being a skills-based system, this stage can be considered the core of character generation. But before covering how skills are acquired, it's important to understand how skills work in Rolemaster. Starting with understanding that the situation calls for the player to make a D100 skill roll when there's a chance of his character failing to perform a skill-based task. For example, if my character attempted to track a band of orcs that had passed through the forest the day before, I would roll 1d100 modified by my character's tracking skill bonus to determine the outcome. Depending upon the result, there are a range of possible outcomes, from absolute failure to absolute success, but in essence, my character is considered to have successfully performed the task if the result of the roll, modified by my character's skill bonus, than any other relevant modifiers exceeds 100. As for the skill bonus itself, it's made up of one or more stat bonuses that reflect the character's natural ability in the skill, combined with a bonus that reflects the character's training in the skill. In the case of my character's tracking skill, it's modified by my character's self-discipline stat bonus, because self-discipline is the characteristic considered to be most closely associated with the skill. But the skill bonus is also modified by the bonuses of the stats associated with the category to which the skill belongs, which in the case of tracking is the awareness skills category, and the intuition and reasoning stat bonuses. Finally, the character's training in the skill is measured by how many ranks he has in it. If a character has no ranks in a skill, he is considered to have no knowledge of the skill, and a -25 penalty is applied to the skill bonus. On the other hand, if the character has ranks in the skill, he gets a +5 bonus for each rank up to the first 10 ranks, after which the rank bonus becomes increasingly subject to the law of diminishing returns. As for how a character acquires skill ranks, in the first instance, during character generation, as a one-off award, the character gets a number of free ranks in a range of skills thanks to his cultural background. My character's Sylvan background meant that he got free ranks in skills including perception, tracking, herbalism, medicine, climbing, and survival. Note that skills marked by an asterisk require the player to specify a specialization. For example, for melee weapons, I specified blades, for ranged weapons, I specified bows, and for riding, I specified horseback riding. With cultural skills added, starting at first level, and after that, each time the character goes up a level, he gets 60 development points to spend on acquiring skill ranks, with the only difference at level 1 being that the character gets a few extra development points to spend as a one-off bonus thanks to his race. Wood Elves, however, unlike some races, only get 3 bonus points to spend, which, in case you're wondering, is for the sake of game balance, given all the racial talents they already get, such as night vision, immunity to disease, and cat-like hearing. As for the rules governing how development points are spent, a character can generally acquire 2 ranks in a skill per level, with a cost of acquiring each rank depending upon the character's profession, the category to which the skill belongs, and whether the character is attempting to acquire the first or the second rank in a skill in a given level. For example, it would cost my ranger 1 development point to learn 1 rank in a skill like tracking that falls within the awareness skills category, and another 3 development points to learn a second rank in tracking during the same level, costing my character 4 development points in total to learn 2 ranks in tracking in 1 level. It's worth noting that during character generation, a player can also spend development points to acquire talents, such as Deadeye, which allows a character to reduce the range penalty when using bows, or Fast Attack, which provides an initiative bonus. A player can also choose to give his character a few flaws to gain more development points, but I opted not to take any of the flaws on offer since none of them seemed to fit with my character concept. I also chose to forego the option of taking any talents given the high cost of acquiring them, not to mention the fact that my character already had several talents thanks to being a wood elf. Instead, I chose to spend all my 63 development points on acquiring more skill ranks. This included more ranks in blades, bows, perception, and tracking. While the ranks I purchased in the spell lists available to the ranger allowed me to cast spells up to a level equal to the number of ranks I developed in the given list. To complete the skill development process, the player decides which 10 of the 15 skills associated with his character's profession are the most important skills for his character. All these skills receive a +1 bonus per level up to +30. Finally, the player decides which 2 professional skills his character has a particular knack for. These 2 skills get an additional flat +5 bonus. At this point, we can complete our character's stats by determining his hit points, his endurance bonus, which is used to determine our character's ability to withstand fatigue, his defensive bonus, which is a passive penalty subtracted from incoming attacks and reflects how hard the character is to hit in combat, weight allowance, which is based upon the character's body weight modified by his strength bonus, and resistance roll modifiers, which are based upon the character's stats, race, and level. Finally, with stats worked out, the Game Master then grants the character an amount of starting equipment and wealth he considers reasonable based upon the character's background and culture. And with that, the character generation process is complete, which means it's now time, as promised at the outset of this video, to share my thoughts on how this new version of Rolemaster compares with the version I grew up playing. And before doing so, I think it's only fair to share my biases in this regard. I have to admit that when I heard there was a new version of Rolemaster, I wasn't that excited. I wasn't that excited because I liked the original version of Rolemaster. I liked the system, and I suppose I had a lot of nostalgia value for it, having grown up playing it. I was also skeptical about anyone coming along decades after the original game and producing a worthy successor. But when I started to read this new version, it didn't take me long to realize I was wrong. Because what immediately shines through is that the team behind this new version had a tremendous amount of respect and understanding of the original games. And you can tell this in the way that they have avoided the mistake of trying to fix anything that wasn't broke. And not only did they avoid making that mistake, they haven't changed anything that was really part of the identity of Rolemaster. Instead, what they've done is they've very astutely focused their efforts on developing rules that need to be developed, filling in blank spots in terms of rules, and they also have had the courage to pare down and at times even cut rules where there simply wasn't the payoff for the admin involved. What also shines through is just how much work has gone, how much work and effort has gone into this new version, and you can sense that by the level of refinement and polish that it shows. Which is why I'm very grateful to everyone involved, from the principal contributors to the playtesters. I salute you, bravo, you did a tremendous job. Which is why, despite all of my affection for the original versions of this game, having read this new version, there's no going back to the old versions for me. There's no question in my mind that going forwards, Rolemaster Unified, this new version, will be the version that I will use to run my games. So having said that, we've now reached the end of this video, which means it's time for me to thank you for your precious time. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me remind you, if you did, to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of my content. And having said all of that, all that remains now is for me to wish you farewell.